Objectives validated. You may depart.
Alright, welcome to my Grenade Veteran Tiny Teen Edition. I just want to preface, this isn't scripted. I got a few dot points here about stuff that I want to talk about and explain, but other than that, I apologize in advance for, any pauses or any unprofessionalism. With that out of the way, Why Grenade Veteran? That's probably the first question I should answer. First thing is, Shredder grenades are amazing. They do a shit ton of damage. They do a lot of stagger. Everyone knows them, everyone loves them, everyone appreciates them. As you can see though, the AoE is a bit lacking. Even when you do combine it with Grenade Tinkerer for 25% damage and radius. Nothing really changes. Now, here's for the trifecta. Lethal proximity increases our explosion radius by 25%. As you can see, I do not have my bolt pistol in hand. I've got my shovel. This is a unique blessing in the fact that the second component of the blessing is not affected by being needed to be in hand. So point blank shots cause an explosion. Obviously you need your bolt pistol out to gain access to that blessing. But with the full stop, the second part of lethal proximity is that explosion radius increases by 25%. Just think of that as you have 31 talent points now, and that extra 1 talent point is explosion radius increases by 25%. That's the easiest way I can explain this interaction. So when you combine Grenade Tinkerer plus lethal proximity, now your grenades are kind of freaking nasty. You go into a room, let's say it's like X amount of room, chuck a grenade there. The entire room is going to be hit with bleed. Any zealots are going to love you if they're running crit, which they usually are in Havoc with the anti-corruption, choir, and crit. Usually with some type of crit weapon, so it's on cooldown as much as possible. Very good. Combining it with burn from like a flame or soul blaze from a psyker is also good. Now in terms of the actual talent tree itself, section 1, you've got 1 motion and out for blood, and the movement speed boost. I mean, you have to take that, it's whatever. I don't really find I need tactical reload much, just find moments to do so. You've got stagger with your shout, you got stagger with grenades, you got stagger with shovel. You'll find moments to do it with dodges. You can go close order drill and confirmed kill. If you notice your playstyle innately leans toward having your bolt pistol out more often than not, yeah, I can see this maybe being more preferential to. I don't still think it's better than this. But yeah, it is something to consider if you're like more backline, sitting in the back, you've got an ogre or 2 in front of you and a smite psyche, you can just sit in the back pinging off snipers and machine guns. You can't go wrong with this. I wouldn't bother with this. That's it, section 1 done. In terms of section 2, the blitzers, you can go crack grenades. It doesn't really change the build at all. Shredders are the best blitz, period. For veteran, in terms of the next section, the aura bonuses, survivalist is the best by far. In lower difficulties, maybe heresy and below. Sure, you can get away with fire team or closing kill, but the higher you go and the more reliance you are on your weapons to deal with specialists and elites, the more value you're going to get out of survivalist. In terms of the actual nodes, as you saw before, you have to go Grenade Tinkerer and Bolt Pistol. If you try them without the other, I'll show you right now. So if I just have the Bolt Pistol, it acts like Grenade Tinkerer. It's the exact same. Now if I change the Bolt Pistol off and put Grenade Tinkerer back on, same thing. These are basically the same thing, except Grenade Tinkerer also gives damage. It's when you add them together that you get like a really special present. As you can see. Alright. Now into the talent tree again. That pretty much explains this section. In Heresy and below, when I say Heresy, I'm talking standard. Catch your breath is fine. Once you get into Damnation, Auric, or Havoc, I don't see much reason to go catch your breath because the enemy density will turn this off quite often. 8 meters, as you can see, is quite close, as quite often there's going to be an enemy within this circle, this ring here, so. And considering you're mostly pushing forward at all times, sticking with the team, it's the higher difficulty you go, the less value this gets, whereas especially the new change to gunners, the stun and slow immunity for 6 seconds, and you restore 50% stamina. Really, really good. When you need it, you notice it. Whereas you don't really notice this other than like, oh, I just got hit by a poxburster and there's nothing around me. We're about to go into an elevator, but I got my coherency bonus anyway, so yeah, like, whatever. Moving on to the next section, going into ults. Yeah, not much to say other than like, you don't worry about this for this build. You don't have the points to go here. Voice of Command is the best ultimate or ability anyway, so why not take it? And it's exactly where most of the grenade tech is anyway. For the first recommended build, Demo Stockpile you'll always take. It's one of the best nodes on Veteran on any build. I combine it with Field Improvision. It's just really good. You find an ammo crate. If your team lets you double dip, triple dip, quadra dip, that's what, like 3, 6, 9, that's 12 grenades you can chuck out. You can just obliterate anything and everything. If there's like 1, 2, 3 bosses, you just keep, what's the word? Throwing out grenades intermittently every 5 to 10 seconds, and then you can keep the horde under control while you guys focus the bosses. In Havoc, with the Blight Spreads, you don't take this for the Blight Spreads. It's a band-aid fix to corruption. You still want an anti-corruption zealot, but again, it's a band-aid fix. You mostly take it for the ammo crate potential with just dumping nades, and when people see how strong your nades are, they let you double dip. They let you take all of it, let me put it that way. Voice of Command, replenish your toughness, stagger all enemies. It's fantastic. Everyone loves Shout. Duty and Honor, who doesn't love yellow toughness, for 15 seconds as well. The higher difficulty you go, you can pretty much keep this up permanently or indefinitely, as long as the specials and elites combining with tactical awareness, which I'll get to. For this build specifically, it's not a crit build. I don't see much reason to go Reciprocity and Desperado. It's not needed. I do have gameplay uploaded in Havoc, and I'll be uploading more gameplay or attach it to this video or do both. So for this setup, don't worry about the right hand side of the tree. These are 2 of the best nodes on Veteran, but for this build it's not needed. You get a lot more damage and consistent breakpoints with precision strikes and superiority complex. Born Leader, again, I take it in conjunction with Target Down. It's a great way to keep your toughness replenished even with 1 to 2, 3 stacks. You do get focused target stacks every 2 seconds. So more often than not, you're basically pinging stuff with 2 stacks all the time. You are frontlining more or less with this build a lot with your shovel to gain access to your Uncanny Strike Blessing. So you'll take a bit of chip damage here and there. When you do, the Born Leader and Target Down combined with Out for Blood and Grenades, you can do a lot of healing toughness wise to your teammates. Do not underestimate it. That's why I don't recommend this, because it incentivizes you to sit back, whereas you want to learn and get a feel for close range combat with this build, because it's where it excels. You can get proper positioning on grenades. This is required for breakpoints and higher difficulties. With the bolt pistol, you'll be hitting a lot of weak spots with the shovel. Block attack, can't go wrong with ammo, and it gains access to superiority complex. Amazing node on Veteran. Back to here. One of Veteran's best knows, tactical awareness. On specialist kill, you reduce your cooldown by 6 seconds. It's a flat 6 seconds. You kill 5 shotgunners, that's what, 30 seconds reduced off your voice of command. Oh look, it's got 0 cooldown now. I'll just use it again once the timing's off, or if my toughness breaks, so I can chain it. You don't literally want to spam it on cooldown, try to maximize it. Iron Will, because you spend so much time shouted and at 100% or over 100% toughness, you have 7 or 50% toughness. Damage reduction up a lot of the time. One of the Veteran's best knows, especially if you're running a shout or even infiltrate. Demolition team, that's a grenade build, not much more to say. This is, I believe, the highest generation of grenades in the entire talent tree. So the must take, pretty much a must take, must takes, and must take in the build so far. Focus target, it's just to ramp damage. So to show exactly what I mean, this is where we're going to get into the numbers portion, into the nitty gritty. If I throw a shredder here as is, 160 damage and 24 per bleed stack. If I take off superiority complex, so 160 base, 24 bleed. 145 base. And I'm just gonna write 20 bleed. I didn't catch the bleed, but I know it was there. Now I combine it with focus target. That's 1 stack, so let me do 5 stacks for the sake of this guide. $195.29. And then let me kill it so I can reset it. This is in Damnation Psychanium as well, in case you're wondering. Let me turn down the game sounds a bit. Alright, and finally, let me do this guy. When you got Uncanny Strike going, hopefully a couple of Decimator stacks. $160, 100. The base damage doesn't increase too much. It's mostly about the bleed damage. That's the premise of the build though, just to basically show you what it's about. Big explosions, you're in melee shoveling, getting Decimator stacks. To show what Decimator does at max stacks, it doesn't need to be at max stacks even if you got 3, 4, 5 stacks going. That's plus 25% damage. You have up to 120% rending, that's the important part. I would recommend having access to a rending and damage melee weapon at all times. In terms of Curios, I usually take double toughness with the exact same perks and then a single stamina one, triple stamina regeneration, triple combat ability regeneration, and triple flat toughness percentage. The bolt pistol cannot be changed. Like, the bolt pistol and lethal proximity must be in the build to make it as effective as possible. Puncture can be changed, but it gives a lot of one-shot breakpoints to stuff that you may headshot or may be far away. 4 ticks of bleed is usually enough. If it requires a 2-shot, then now it's got 8 ticks of bleed. It's my favorite blessing. It performs the best in my opinion. In terms of perks, you can change Carapace to Unyielding in Auric and below, but once you get to Havoc, the amount of Carapace, especially with the new Scab Rages, changing their torso to be Carapace damage, if you miss the head and hit the chest, there's just a lot of flak and Carapace in Havoc. This is the setup you want for Havoc games. In terms of melee weapon, Rashad doesn't have access to an uncanny strike, so rending. However, independently of the build, it's fantastic. We're dealing with crushers. There's a ton of stagger, a ton of damage. You have to use it exclusively to deal with crushers because your grenades won't do anything. But again, 2 grenades will murder a horde. So it is something to consider. In my initial guide that I did on Reddit and Games Lantern, this is the weapon I recommended, but Havoc wasn't released yet. I would change this to Carapace. Again, I was just doing some testing. Other ways that you can run it. Decimated Brutal Momentum requires you to be a bit more cognizant of your attacks because you'll lose all stacks if you miss an attack. The higher difficulty you go, the easier this is to keep up. All or nothing is great, especially if you're using a lot of the block attacks to block attacks, but it uses stamina for the push. 40% strength is nothing to scoff at. It's objectively more than Head Taker, but less than Decimator. It's like an in-between, but it has a condition of requiring you to use stamina. You're usually sprinting or using blocks and pushes a lot. You'll be surprised at how often your stamina is at 0, but you're relying on stamina regen to keep your stamina at a usable amount. Finally, Thunderous or Brutal Momentum, basically running around, putting brittleness on everything that you hit. It's not bad, don't mind it, more of a supporty playstyle. Again, I think just playing the shovel, dueling sword or knife is better. This weapon will shine in Auric and below. It gets outshined in Havoc Plus. Few knife setups, not sure which one's my favorite yet, but these all work. Uncanny plus Flesh Terror. When you take this knife, and I'll show you momentarily, you take it with a weapon specialist variant of this build. So you gain access to Reciprocity and Desperado for the crit chance, combined with the knife's innate crit chance of like 20-30%. You'll be hitting 55% crit chance. No worries, so this isn't bad. I actually unironically prefer this at the moment, whereas I would have memed on this prior to Havoc. Post Havoc, the Mark 6 knife with Lacerate Uncanny Strike. Because of the wide sweeping hits, you'll be surprised at how many times you don't hit non-weak spots, but you also do hit weak spots in the same swing, meaning you'll buff your grenades but also apply bleed to anything. Like usually it comes in horde control because you'll use the push attack against single entities. Unironically, it's my favorite knife setup if I'm going to use the weapon specialist variant. Even with the focus target, I still like this too. Uncanny and Repulsed, if you just want to go, you know, fuck it, I'm going to use Shredders for all my bleed. Then you can go pure crit chance with Desperado Reciprocity. This will bring you to 75% crit chance. Very good, worth considering. If it suits you, take it. I recommend it. Next one. We'll be looking at the Dueling Sword. This is the go-to for Havoc. You can change Carapace to Unyielding in Havoc or Auric or below. Other ways to set it up, if you want to play, if you're not taking the weapon specialist variant, and mobility is usually the dump state in the weapons, by the way, I just upgraded them so I can show you the double blessing. For perks, it's the same thing as above, Flak Carapace or Flak Unyielding in Auric below. I actually don't mind this setup if I'm not running crit chance, if I'm running my focus target build one, because you still get Uncanny Strike 24% at max tier. I didn't finish upgrading this. So for the grenade bleed damage, 2 for agile, just being able to refresh the dodge efficiency just means I can be in position where I need to be, where I want to be to maximize my grenades and my shouts. I actually really like this, nothing to complain about, definitely one of the better options if you're doing the focus target variant. You You can go Rampage and Uncanny. This is more of a horde clearing build. You just light attack a lot, easy to keep your Uncanny up. You'll still hit nice breakpoints with your heavy attack into Crushers, Maulers, Mutants, etc. Don't mind it. Need to playtest them more, but yeah, Power Sword, another fantastic one. Power Cycler, Brutal Momentum, can't go wrong with that. Even better, replace this with Slaughterer. That would be the go-to. If you want your grenades to deal with, or the bleed to deal with the pack of Crushers, which in Havoc you'll need it to supercharge, basically acts as your Uncanny Strike. Not much other ways to run the Power Sword. You got Rampage and Power Cycler for the same reason as the Dueling Sword. Easy to keep it up, just chuck your grenade out as quick as possible after. In terms of Shovel, Decimator and Uncanny have been giving me the best. You can change Carapace to an Armored in Auric and below. Skull Crusher is fine. Your grenade stagger and shouts, even though they stagger, even if you have your shovel out, don't apply Skull Crusher. Only the shovel staggers apply Skull Crusher. The standard shovel special can stagger anything and everything besides bosses, so it is very easy to get 8 stacks of this on a couple of Crushers, and between focus target, that's what, 107.5% damage you're giving to your teammates and yourself. It's really good with the focus target, less value on the weapon specialist build. I do prefer power in general, but it's not to be slept on. If you're playing more conservative, maybe with confirmed kill and close order drills, yeah, I would say this actually does even get more value because it plays to that slower control playstyle. All or nothing, I actually really like this. The high difficulty you go, because you'll be sprinting and pushing a lot, push attacking. You'll be at 20% stamina a lot, which is going to give you 20% strength, 30% strength, sorry. Really nice light loadout, nothing really to complain about. Skull Crusher, Decimator, more of a meme. Auric and below, fantastic. Havoc and above, you kind of need the rending. That's all the weapons, all the curios done. The last thing I will show is just the different variants that you can run of this build. So the second variant is just replacing Field and Provision for Twin Blast. The higher I go on Havoc, the less I'm worried about this, because we're spending less time looking for loot. Also, we typically have an anti-corruption zealot in the mix, and the band-aid fix of dealing with corruption from medipacks. Again, combined with that, we're looting less, gets less value. Twin Blast, you'll be proccing a crap ton. It's surprisingly good the higher difficulty you go. The lower difficulty you are, Heresy and below, maybe even Damnation below standard, whatever. It's mid to good. But on Auric, especially Havoc, 20, 25, 30 plus, this kind of gets insane value. It just like being able to delete a horde every 5 grenades on average. Don't underestimate it. The third setup is the weapon specialist build. You'll notice I don't have fully loaded and superiority complex, which sucks. The reasoning is this is a must. I just don't have the points for it. In simple terms, I like always prepared and on your toes. I prioritize the sustainability of the defense metrics that I get from on your toes and not having to reload with always prepared, not having to need tactical reload. If you really don't want to play with these, you can alternate these 2 points to go to fully loaded and superiority complex, or toughness boost, bring it down, twin blast and field improv. It sucks not getting fully loaded and superiority complex, but combined with survivalist and always prepared, combined with the fact that this is typically the more melee orientated build that you'll probably be taking with a knife or a dueling sword or a shovel. That's the reasoning for it. Grenades do a little bit less damage because superior complex on elites, but it's whatever. The most important ones are here. This is important for breakpoints in your bolt pistol. The fourth and final one, this is basically the foundational build that I would recommend anyone starting with Grenade Veteran in at the end of 2024 with a new Havoc update. If any significant things change, I'll update the build, but this is more or less the foundational build that you can tweak and adjust if you want to go more into marksman focus, do your thing, whatever. But this is the foundation. This leaves you with a single point that you can do little adjustments to. Let's say you're playing more defensively, but you notice that you don't need this. Boom, you can get faster reloads. If you notice you're struggling with not dodging enough, or you need more time to learn and figure out melee combat, probably one of the best 1-point spenders is Close Order Drill, especially if you're playing around sticking with your teammates, which you should be, especially the higher difficulty you go. 33% damage toughness reduction combined with Iron Will, you're at 83% toughness damage reduction. You don't need Curios with like gunner resistance or whatever. Other alternatives, again, you have a choice of these two, which basically replicates these two builds. You can chuck it into focused fire, so you get 8 stacks. That's an additional 12% damage on focused target and 4.5% damage on redirect fire. It is noticeable. It's slower. If you're learning how to ping and you're not pinging like anything and everything on site, and more so you prefer getting the full 8 stacks, killing the bigger stuff, yep, can't complain, it's not bad. You don't need this. You have 120% rending, assuming you're taking one of the 4 optimized weapons, the top 3 being combat knife, dueling sword, and shovel. There is some merit for it on the power sword, I guess. It's very mid to low. You don't have to really worry about it. If you like it, you like it, go for it. I won't argue with you. Competitive Urge is a fantastic 1-pointer. You'll spend a lot more time than you think, especially with the new Havoc game mode. This might be the best 1-pointer in the entire talent tree for this setup. 20% base damage, yes, that does apply to your shredders. 20% melee impact on your shovel, fantastic. That's where you'll get the most impact. Plus 20% suppression. Suppression is fantastic with the bolt pistol. If you're running the second setup as well, which is a bit more greedy. So let's say you want to do some fine tuning, for example. You can do something like this. Let's go with a twin blast. So this is like the ultra aggression, trying to min-max as much damage as you can into your build. Might be the best way to do it, but I find it's just a lot more consistent to have target down in your build once you're in Havoc 25 plus, 30 plus. You'll have competitive urge, focus target, redirect fire, bring it down, superiority complex. Like those are pretty much every single pure damage node that you can gain access to in the veteran tree. Can't complain, I like this setup. But yeah, like I said, whatever you like, you can do this if you this is actually alright for like one-tapping machine gunners, and it allows you to one-tap things to a higher difficulty, because at some point your bolt pistol will not one-shot anymore. That's why this is whatever in, again, 30 plus Havoc, but 30 plus Havoc and below, long shot actually is noticeable, worth considering, but not worth talking more about. With that done, that's pretty much everything done. That's Grenade Veteran 2024 done. To give a quick show of what this looks like anyway, even without Uncanny Strike and Decimator going for plus 50% power, full rending, 2 grenades, you're gonna delete everything. Like, it's just not even fair. It's just a shit ton of damage. There's no other way to put it other than it is a shit ton of damage. That's the end of the build. That's everything, guys. I got nothing else more to say on the build specifically. Thank you for your time. I'll upload some more content, some gameplay. This is the build I'll be using for a little while, and once I'm bored, I'll probably move on to Zealot because I do want to try the two-handed power sword. Catch you in the next video. God bless. Goodbye. Much love.